Okay, so it's time to review one of the classic OG programs, the Jim Wendler 531 beginner program. Fantastic program for a beginner lifter. I recommend Jim Wendler programs for beginners and early stage intermediate lifters. I highly recommend it. It's better than strong lift, it's better than the Texas method or the Mad Cow. I much prefer this program, and I can do a separate video explaining why, but I'm not going to use this video to talk about that. So the first thing you must do is enter your 1 rep maxes in here. Now I must also mention beforehand, if you don't know who Jim Wendler is, check out my website. The link's below to the page where I talk a little bit about him. I've got links to his books that I highly advise that you buy to better understand the program, because there's stuff I will talk about here that he talks about the book that I'm not going to talk about right here in this video. I've also got links to other programs that he's created that are fantastic. You might want to check those out before you begin this program, because they might be better suited for you. So that's my advice there. So let's get started. So as I said, this program works off your 1 rep max. So you need to enter your 1 rep max for your squat, your bench, your deadlift, your press. Now that press could be incline, it could be overhead press, strict overhead press, it could be dumbbell seated press. My advice would be to do the strict barbell overhead press. It's the best one. Okay, and then it will automatically calculate your TM. Now your TM is 90% of your 1 rep max. You can see that up here in the formula bar, 0.9 of cell 2 C2, and that's this cell right here. So it's taken 90% of 600 pounds, so that's 540. That math works out right. So the next thing you need to do is choose whether you're going to do this program in pounds or kilograms. My advice would be to use probably kilograms, because most powerlifters around the world, especially if you're in drug-free powerlifting, they use kilograms. But whatever works for you. It is important to change this, because if I was to change this to 5, you can now see that some of these 237.5, let's say for example, when I change that to sorry, one sec. My microphone just got in the way. If I change that to 5, you can see it's now gone to 235 instead of 237.5. So it does make a difference. You do have to change that. So it's a 3-week program and 1 week deload. Okay, you squat twice a week, you bench twice a week, you deadlift once a week, you press once a week. That makes sense. That's good. That's a good program. You do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or you do a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I'd advise those routines. Now, Week 1 you do 3 sets of 5, week 2 you do 3 sets of 3, week 3 you do 5-3-1. Now let's talk about that in more detail. Each session, each exercise, you do 3 warm-up sets for 40, 50, 60% of your TM. You have to do those, don't skip them. Then you begin your working set. So in this, I've highlighted all your working sets in yellow. Okay, so for in week 1 we do 3 sets of 5 at 65, 75, 80% of our TM, training max. On the final set you do as many reps as possible. That's what the plus symbol indicates, as many reps as possible. My advice would be to sensible, do as many as you can whilst maintaining good form and technique. That's my advice there. Take it or leave it. Then you need to do the first set last, or as I call it, the drop-off set routine, where you do 5 sets of 5 at 65% of your TM. Make sure you do this because it adds to the volume. One thing that's lacking from this program is volume, and what this does is it fixes that issue. So I highly advise that you do this, especially for the deadlift and the press. So that's that, and that formula applies to each training session, each exercise for week 1. Now let's move to week 2, where we do 3 sets of 3. The final set we do as many reps as possible, because we still got that plus symbol right there. You do your 3 warm-up sets. It's the same as the previous week, 40, 50, 60% of your TM. But this time we've increased the intensity but reduced the volume. We're doing 70, 80, 90% of our TM, but we're doing 3 sets of 3 instead of 3 sets of 5. Same as before, but now for our drop-off set, or the first set last, you do 5 sets of 5, but this time at 70% instead of 65%. And that applies for all the exercises in week 2 for each training session. That's the same. Week 3, now we're doing the final week where we do the 5-3-1. On the final set, you do as many reps as you possibly can whilst maintaining good form and technique. And this time you've increased the intensity by 5% for each set. So we're doing 75, 85, 95%, but we've reduced the volume. We're now doing 5-3-1. and that's where the 5-3-1 comes from. And then you're doing the first set last, so 75% for 5 sets of 5, your drop off sets. Make sure that you still do this. Don't start dropping this concept and forgetting about it because you can't be bothered. Still keep doing it because you need that volume, especially in this program, because that's when you take this out, that's one of the weaknesses of this program. And that applies for each training session. Now you're probably going to ask, now how do I calculate my new 1 rep max? Because you don't have in week 3 any system where you're chasing a new 1 rep max. Now my advice would be to week 4, you could potentially move the deload week to week 5, and week 4 chase your new 1 rep max for the main lifts, for all 4 lifts, or alternatively, based on how many reps you did on that final top set, you could then guesstimate roughly what your new 1 rep max is. So if at 515 pounds, let's say I did 8 reps, well, that's very impressive. That means that my previous 600 pound 1 rep max would probably be more like, for the next session, maybe 620 pounds, 625 pounds. So that's one way you could do it. Alternatively, you can dedicate week 4 to chasing a new 1 rep max, and then week 5 would be a deload week. Now week 5 for me, for the deload week, my system that I use or advise to beginner lifters would be to maybe do just train each main lift once a week. So you might want to do day 1 squat the bench, day 2 you might just want to do the deadlift, you might want to skip the press, and then you want to do day 3. My advice would be just to skip day 3 and just do 2-day training sessions on that deload week, because the purpose of the deload week is to deload. You're not trying to increase your 1 rep maxes. So that's my advice. And what you can do, what I do, is 4 sets of 5 at about 65% of my 1 rep max. Let's say 65% of my 1 rep max. I just drop the training max concept and just stick to my 1 rep max, and that's my current 1 rep max, not my new 1 rep max. If that makes sense. That's what I do, but that's not necessarily what Jim Wendler recommends that you do. Okay, and then you can run the program again, you can cycle it again. Just make sure that you change your 1 rep maxes and it will automatically update everything. Now regarding accessory exercises, I'm not going to go into too much detail. What exercises you want to use is up to you. As it says here, you can pick 1 exercise from each category, so a push, pull and leg core exercise. Definitely try to do 1 from each category. That's a good idea, and it's totally doable. And you should do a total of anywhere from 50 to 100 reps in total. That's not for each category, so it doesn't mean that you do 300 reps, 100 for each. That means in total. So here's what I would advise: maybe do 3 sets of 12, and that's just perfect. So you could do, for example, dips for 3 sets of 12. You could do the pulls, face pulls for 3 sets of 12, and then for a leg exercise you can do 3 sets of 12 for the Bulgarian split squats. And there we go. That's some good exercises, mate. I would advise to make sure that you change them for each training session. So let's say day 1 I do my dips, my face pulls and my lunges. Day 2 I might want to do tricep extensions, isolate my triceps, lat pull downs, isolate the lats, and then maybe do some leg extensions or dumbbell kettlebell swings, or maybe some sit-ups, some crunches, something for the core. And then day 3 again, choose something different. Maybe you want to do some incline press, a dumbbell or barbell incline press with some band pull aparts, and then finish it with some step ups. And there we go. That's an example of what you can do. How you want to go about using these assistance exercises is down to you, but I try to mix it up each week with my clients who I recommend this program for. So the routine that I choose for week 1 will be different to the routine that I choose for week 2. Remember, these are assistance exercises that they're not that important. So I try to isolate each muscle group and try to make that work for the 3 weeks. So for example, with the shoulders, if I was to isolate a pushing exercise and I really want to this cycle focus on my shoulders, what I would do is I'd do week 1, day 1 I would do, for example, side lateral raises, day 2 rear delt flies, day 3 barbell front raises, and the next week I would do maybe something different. I'd do single arm lateral raises, I'd do bent over dumbbell rear delt flies, and then I would maybe do some cable single arm front raises. So what I'm doing there is I'm just mixing it up, and I'm not just doing sort of compound exercises. I'm actually using some of the strength machines, the cable machines, to isolate muscle groups. That's how I would do my assistance work. I wouldn't necessarily stick to what has been recommended by the person who made this spreadsheet down here. I would kind of roll with it. If you want some advice on this, and people want me to maybe write out the assistance exercises for this, an example for you, let me know in the comments below, and what I'll do is I'll update the spreadsheet with an example assistance routine for you. But I basically left it blank because most people, this is the part they like to do. Ironically, not the main lifts, is actually the assistance work. People like to mess around with this and do things that they want to do. So I've left that open to whatever you want to do. So there we go. That's it. Have a good time with this program. Good luck. If you have any questions, comment below. I try to message as quick as I possibly can. And stay safe out there. Make sure you lift smart. Don't overdo it and injure yourself. Have a great day. Make sure to subscribe to the channels to keep up to date with everything I release. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, enjoyed the spreadsheet. Any donations would be gravely appreciated. I've got a link on my website, and that would be fantastic. It all goes to funding this project, making sure I've got the latest equipment, new mics, etc. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and hope you enjoy this program.